Okay, we're recording.
Hi, this is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, and I have Scott here, and we're going to talk about a number of things. You know what things I heard today, Scott?
What?
I was looking through my emails, and I saw this one that said, a bird flew out of the sun. And I said, what? So I'm going to look at this article, and what it was about was a, coronal mass ejection, basically. And it was pretty big, and it's being masked by now. And so they have a bunch of these other pictures showing this kind of stuff. So it's kind of, it just.
My volume might be up a bit high.
Pardon?
I think that's better right there. Probably better.
Is the mic too high?
No, I think I had my microphone up a bit high.
Oh, okay.
Should be a little better now.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, less feedback. I had the volume up a bit much. Since I'm using the computer desk speakers, as long as it's just the two of us, it's not a Zoom session, we should be fine without having to worry about with Zoom. If you limit the numbers and the volume's about mid-range, you don't get much feedback or anything, and it works pretty well. When you get in the group sessions with 10 people, then I have to have everybody's mic off to record well to hear a guided session or something like that. But generally, it works pretty well. It's not perfect technology, but we have good, clear videos. We can record on Zoom.
Can't beat the price either. It's really inexpensive.
I pay a little every month to get the ability to handle 10 people or more.
Uh-huh.
So it's not much, but it's really well worth the quality for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, when you get a little mic, a little camera, which are inexpensive on top of your computer, it's got a little camera, and little speakers on the side, and a little microphone, can only handle so much bandwidth, and certainly it doesn't handle music very well at all. Mm. You can't even go into a hue, putting out the hue with a group of people. They'll cancel each other out. You won't hear it. You have to, if you're very careful, you can. But generally, that's why when I start the hues, I'm the one doing it while everybody has their mics off, so that I can get the pitches up and get the primary implants shut off and get people putting their body into the trance state called sleep so they can go on a journey and begin to recover what they were made to forget, which you can only do from the Atma, not from the body, not from the brain. The brain and human body you grew up with has no memory of any of their lives. There's nothing in it from this other than this life. So you have to really get into the true state of being in order to multidimensionally perceive and understand things. And we do that by getting out of the body. People do it at night, every night anyway, when they put the body to sleep. People are experts at knowing how to put the body in the trance state called sleep and leave, and they're not even aware they're doing it. Because it's the Atma that does that to the body every night unconsciously. What we're doing is waking up the Atmas consciously to know that it's doing that, and then it can go put the body in a trance state, get it breathing, the heart working, running on automatic through the pineal gland, and then it goes off and journeys and comes back. And then brings back the awareness of what it's doing when it's out of its body. It's a big difference. And that's normal for many beings in the universe to do this. It's not like on Earth at all. Earth is a very backward, shut down place. A mix of the thrown away, captured and imprisoned and trapped, implanted people from all over the universe for hundreds of thousands of years, far beyond this current culture. So all of that, you know, in my work, I try to get across to people, is being brought to a permanent end, not just on Earth, but out in the universe as well. So Earth is headed into a different destiny than it was prophesied in the past, unexpectedly.
Yes, that's what everybody, it seems like they're trying to push those prophecies that from the past. And I'm going, no, that's not going to happen. I don't want that to happen. Do you want that to happen? Don't even think about that. Don't give it any energy.
Well, it's like anything, you know, if you project negativity into your future, there's tyrants and people who want you doing that so they can control you, because negative imagination is controllable. It's a negative field of energy. If you want negative frequencies put through the satellites to affect a person's nervous system, the person has to negatively imagine with it first, or it can't get in and affect the Atma at all. It's getting people to trick them into using their imagination in negative ways. You know, it produces its own repercussion, its own results. And unfortunately, tyrants will also get people to be negative because they're negative. And in the end, they think they're going to rule the roost over everybody. And it just ends up destroying themselves, entire planets in the process. Goodbye, classified military industrial complex. On the ground basis, forget about it. Because if enough people were allowed to imagine a negative future, and enough religions were promoting that to get them free to go to some god heaven or something, you got to die in an Armageddon and then you get free.
They're terrible that way, yeah.
All that is a tyrant's off-world ability, their attempt, races from the stars. There are few in number, but tyrant, few. It's their attempt to basically get people to annihilate themselves so they can take the resources. That's all it is. Whether it's gold and silver, platinum, or space-based minerals and metals and things that they need. If you think about it, they're tyrants are not respecters of individual rights at all. And they are in terror themselves and surrounded by terror. Their emperors are terrorized. It's all one big self-feeding, self-defeating thing. And in history, even in galactic history and Earth history, there's never been a culture that's been a tyrant nature culture that's lasted past a few thousand years. Something upends them. They come and they go. And not just here, but out in space too. Mm-hmm. The majority of races out among the stars that I relate with are benevolent and kind, highly evolved spiritually and technologically. They don't have money. They don't allow it. It's illegal. They don't have taxation. They don't do that. They don't need it because people don't buy things with money.
How do they have
products are developed in order to make a profit. They're developed for the benefit of all citizens on many worlds, not just the planet where it's invented. It's done collectively for the good of an entire organization of people. If you want a home or acreage, it's provided. I mean, it's everyone gets. There's no lack of space. People aren't stacked on top of each other or anything like that. And that's something that was figured out in galactic history a very, very long time ago. The fact that this planet has not been able to enjoy in the physical reality a more of a paradisical type of culture is because of where Earth is and where it ended up at the end of a treaty after a great war in this galaxy. This is not talked about on Gaia, the Gaia, big Gaia TV, radio, TV, what is it, an internet thing?
Gaia.com, yeah.
And it's not talked about on Coast to Coast. People in the UFO community don't talk about it. They don't know about it. Ex-classified military people don't know about it. They don't know about the Say-Rays. They don't know about real galactic history. Most people do not.
Do the Pleiadians know about the Say-Rays?
Well, of course. They've been in their history as mystical, magical beings from ancient that help sponsor life in this galaxy.
Have you ever heard of the Central Race? I heard somebody talking about that. I've never heard of that before.
No, and I don't get into what other people talk about. I don't have time for it. I'm here on the planet on a mission, and that's what my focus is. It's not about having debates with all the other stuff people are promoting out there, whether it's religious or psychic or fear of the military-industrial complex or fear of the classified, fear of the men in black, or any of that stuff. It's all misdirection, all of it. It keeps people from really knowing for themselves. So they stay, I don't know. I saw this show on Coast, then I saw this other one, and there was a PhD whistleblower one night saying this and that happened, and there was a PhD from academia the next night. So we think there's life on other planets, and it just keeps everybody running around in a rat cage, a little squirrel cage, not really knowing anything for sure for themselves. Direct knowing experience or direct perception is the highest faculty a being has. It's the ability for the spherical shape of a being to connect into the omnipresent energy in everywhere, even in the void of space and in the other dimensions, and know stuff and connect into that pool and connect with other beings that connect into that pool. And you don't grow up in doubt and fear and speculation and theory on most of the other worlds in the Galactic Alliance, which is a gigantic organization of worlds, more than 500 million, probably more. and many levels in the parallel dimensions within the physical universe. Technologically, they can move between them. Technologically, a material craft can move between material realities by changing the molecular time rate. But a material craft made out of matter in the 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe cannot go into the astral. There's a kind of a barrier between these planes, and then there's another kind of finer matter that makes up matter in those planes. And there are ships in those planes. It'd be easier for a ship in the astral plane to come in the physical, but it's pretty difficult. Very few races are able to do that. The Say race can do it, but they don't even need ships. The Galactic Alliance can move their ships within physical reality of 144 levels of it, but they don't bring their ships into the astral level. But the beings that comprise that alliance know how to get out of their bodies and go to those levels. So it's quicker. Why take a ship? Why waste the time and the energy? It's not needed. There's a difference between knowing what you are as a being and running a body and thinking you're a body and you have a soul somewhere in some mystical place somewhere in your background that you're supposed to, I don't know, take out and show it to yourself or something. It's like people think the body has a soul. That's not it. It doesn't. It's a biological machine. It runs at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, and there's an Atma that runs the machine and motivates it to move around, or it doesn't do anything.
It's kind of like the guy playing the game Pac-Man. You're moving the Pac-Man around, kind of, sort of. No, okay.
Well, no, because that's set in a little computer program and it's very rich. No, not like that. Because it's not like that.
Well, you're in charge of. I just mean from the standpoint of you're in charge of that.
Well, you got to remember that a human body is pretty sophisticated. It has the DNA structure capability to handle telepathy and higher functions, remember other lives, get a greater view of the multiverse. It can be programmed to accept things that would shock most people's nervous systems the way they are now. But certain genomes on the DNA that have been shut off on people on Earth need to be turned back on for the body to handle that kind of energy.
What would turn them back on? Would that, if they were exposed to certain frequencies, would that turn
Yeah,
them
but
on?
you can't do that on Earth. You're not. Where are you going to go? You're going to go knock on the classified doorway somewhere in some hidden base and say, I want you to turn on my genomes?
You mean they wouldn't help me?
They'll just shoot you. Step
Oh,
on that base, you're dead.
very nice.
Boom. Sign says we're authorized to use deadly force, and they mean it. And the people carrying those guns are brainwashed. I mean, they're basically patriotic to the sense that anybody breaking those laws, it's okay for them to shoot them. You know, that's the way they protect their financial interests in such places. And those financial interests are huge, monstrously large. If you think money's real, but even those people do. They play with it, they deal with it, they brainwash other people to believe it's real, but they also brainwash themselves in the process. So they become victims of their own manipulation. And it's, you know, money's okay. We got to use it here. We got to buy food. Nobody will give you any if you don't give them bark from a tree. Hey, I've got this bark from a tree with ink on it, says 10. Will you give me that burrito? Sure. Give me that bark from a tree. Here, I'll give you some little barks from a tree in exchange for it. Here's your burrito. And if you don't give it to them, you get no burrito. And then when you think about it, you take out this piece of paper made from a bark from a tree. Same thing toilets paper's made out of. Yeah. It's got ink on it. It says, can I change this in for some valuable gold or platinum? No, you can't, because there's nothing behind it.
But you know what? You can't eat gold or platinum either. I mean, if it
so
really
we live in a society where we have to use certain things because the mass of people are conditioned to it, including leaders, so-called leaders. So, but we learn to live with using it as energy in the form of money. And energy is free, and there's no lack of any abundance of it anywhere in creation. It's infinitely vast. So you can tap into energy that cannot be depleted. And when you use energy in any device, even through a human body, it just goes out that body and goes back in the universe. Nothing's ever really used. Think about it. There's a drought. Everybody's dying of thirst in different parts of the world. You got an ocean that's mostly water, and all the water that goes to the rain comes back down, runs back into the ocean. All the water that's ever been on this planet is still on this planet. There's no shortage except randomly created to, you got places that are in droughts, they don't get the rainfall. And there's such an abundance of it, water should be shipped anywhere on Earth where there's a lack of water. It shouldn't cost them an arm and a leg to get it. Who has the right to charge for water on a planet that they didn't
Nestle. No.
Right?
They think they do.
How come a company or a government can charge you for air or water when they don't own it?
Exactly.
They just took it from a world and they charged you for it. It's pretty pathetic. Normal worlds don't work like this planet.
So if we were to explain to somebody, it's almost incomprehensible to most people to imagine even how you would go about in a society that doesn't have money. How do you do that?
Well, you can't grow up being brainwashed from birth that you mandatorily need it and must pay taxes on it, and you have to pay for the right to be born on a planet. And who has the right to charge other people for the right to be born on a planet? They're just people too. What gives them that right? Nothing but snootery, arrogance, and ego. Nothing more, nothing less. That's it. There is no other right that they have whatsoever, the one they make up, to manipulate and control masses of people for their own selfish indulgence. And that's it. And to do that, people have to be twisted on a subconscious level as a human being, or they won't do it. It's not natural for a being to be a tyrant. They have to be twisted severely for them to act in that way. Most tyrants act the way they do because they want to dominate all life so that all life doesn't dominate them first. That's their thinking. They live in terror. In a classified, compartmentalized system, everybody in the system lives in terror. Terror of opening your mouth to the people above you, people above them, terror that they open their mouth the wrong way to people above them. It's a tyrant system. And it has no future. It's self-imploding at some point, top-heavy until it crumbles, until there's no more bark from a tree to use to create an illusion for people. It's an artificial system created by tyrants to enslave people, period. And everybody knows it down deep. Even the people in government passing laws, they don't even know what the laws are they're passing anymore. None of them read the IRS code, for instance, nobody even knows how many laws are on the books anymore. They just work every year to pass more laws to, till it's so complicated nobody can function.
I know, it's insanity, the amount of time that somebody could have to spend on doing their taxes if they don't have somebody else do it for them or what have you, every year.
It's the apprehension of having to answer to Uncle Sam for any detail of your life, and this is not right.
No, it sure isn't.
They'll use an excuse, well, if we don't do it, then terrorists will take over, or Russia will come and get us, or China.
The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming.
Nobody wants the complex nonsense that would be involved in taking over and running another country. It's massively, horrendously top-heavy. You just couldn't do it. And there would be enough personnel or money to do that. So there really isn't a practical approach for one country to take over everybody with a money system. It just won't work. It's never going to work. It's never even come close to even attempting to work like that here. You can't get two countries to work together here completely on this planet. They don't work as one group of people. You get in space, you look at the world, you don't even see the people. There's no fences. There's land, there's water, there's atmosphere. Now, who gives the right to a few people on Earth to charge for what they live on when they just came here free of charge too? See, it's absurd, I know. But that's the world we live in currently. It's not destined to stay that way.
Thank goodness for that.
It does mean that a lot of people are going to be going through some pretty incredibly good changes. Some people won't handle them too well, but they'll get through it. Their fear is the thing that would kill people. Enlightenment comes with the price of being able to wield the imagination for the good of all life. There's no shortcut for it. You can't get it or get free from being stuck in the illusion of being a body, or remember who you are as the Atma, soul, whatever it is, the energy that's not matter, that is energy, that runs matter. And that we've always been. Just because you've been made to forget it doesn't mean that it's not still true or that you can't recover it.
So even someone who's been tortured and killed still isn't dead.
No, of course not. You know that.
Yeah, I know.
They're going, oh, my body's dead. Wait a minute. Did I just say that? Hey, my body's dead. Who's talking? Who's talking? I'm not dead. And people do it every damn time when they die at the end of a life. Same thing. Oh, I'm not dead. Like it's a big shock, you know. Oh, and then they've got to go be with relatives. Then you got to get a guy pretending to be an angel with wings come over and talk to you, and they're lords of karma and blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, you had quite a life. Well, now you're safe. Well, we'll put you through some rehabilitation, and then we'll send you back so you can get it right for God, you know, go back to earth with no memory and be reincarnated in a baby's body and be just as dumb as a brick. Oh, yeah, then you'll get it right. No, you won't.
We've got it set up.
Faculties. How can you get anything right in an incarnation if you don't have the faculty and awareness of what you were before you were born for billions of years? How can you get anything right that way? Well, you can't.
And
see,
we haven't.
Tyrants know that. They can't affect or harm what the Atma is, or soul. But they can create an illusion that the Atma will trap itself with its own imagination. And then it'll tell this omnipresent living force what imagination to fill, good or bad. And it just responds reciprocally. So if tyrants know the energy, they certainly know the law of physics. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. So if you can keep a mass of people creating opposing imaginations, you can ground them to the earth. You can control them. You can keep them so scattered they can't ever focus to be enlightened, or much less even discover what they are before they die.
Well, doesn't the very dualistic nature of everything cause that to happen right off the bat? Because it's the good, the bad.
No, the dualistic nature is just simply a negative and positive force woven together to create form in a lower world. It has nothing to do with beings or emotion until it's run through the middle of a being, through the white core center of the Atman, and then through the nervous system of a body. Then you're in trouble. Because now you've got two energies that are neither bad nor good running through the imaginative faculty, create bad and good scenarios that come back to you in all kinds of combinations. You can't function right. The proper use of the creative imagination is to intentionally, of free will, create that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life. And you can't do that effectively unless you can plug into the omnipresent hue underneath it all. Because it requires that we are respectful of all life everywhere, not just on our world, in order for it to work properly. Therefore, a person must become or awaken to or recall what the multidimensional nature of the universe is and their part in it, how they can move in it, create in it, play in it, be beneficial in it.
You know, there are a lot of people, I don't even think they have a clue what that means.
On Earth, most people don't have a clue about any of this yet. Yeah. But it doesn't mean they're not capable of having that clue and remembering. Under the right circumstances, every single person on this planet could recover. You don't see any clinics anywhere manifested all over the earth from outer space saying, come on here and get your primary implant taken out. It's free. We'll give you a Coke, too. But no aspartame in that Coke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or something.
Fruit juice. How's that?
We don't have that. Our own governments aren't going to pass out cures for the common cold, even if they have them. So you have to kind of find ways to connect with beings from other worlds who are not trapped like this.
Do all these other worlds have governments?
Well, of course they do.
Oh.
But they're made up of the most spiritually wise and evolved beings who do that job as a privilege to serve people. And the people trust them because they don't lie to them. Their leaders don't lie to them.
See, that's a little different than it is here.
It's very different than it is here. Yes, indeed it is.
I think lying is the way it is. I mean, if you don't lie well, you're going to be in trouble. You better be a good liar.
Oh, if you don't lie, you don't make the bark from the tree, you know, with little $10 insignias on it, $20 bills and stuff. Most people are busy deceiving their neighbor one way or another to sell products. It's called advertising. There's always some hook or twist or something in most of it. A deception. We're having a sale. course, when they put their sale up, they've already jacked the price up.
Yeah.
They're going to make a profit. That's not it. It's not honest.
I know.
There's very little honesty on our planet.
You know, the other thing that I always love that happens on this planet, if you have a, you're buying something with one of those, plastic cards, credit card, debit, whatever, and you purchase them, they take the money out, boom, like that. But then let's say
you want
you want a refund. You want a refund. Try getting it back. Oh, that'll take about 2 or 3 weeks. What?
No, it usually takes 3 to 5 business days. It can take longer if somebody wants to keep your money longer.
It depends on what institution it is, because some of them take 2 or 3 weeks.
What I get a kick out is money in that form isn't even real. It's not even paper. It's just digits in a computer.
Yeah, exactly.
I got $10 in little ones and zeros in my computer, and you got $100 in ones and zeros. Therefore, I have more ones and zeros than you, so I can lord my ones and zeros over your ones and zeros. Ooh.
Why don't you just give me some of your ones and zeros?
I've got 1 trillion ones and zeros, and you've got, a couple thousand. Well, you better worship me because, after all, I provide the illusion of the internet and cell phones and texting, don't I? What a waste of time. Oh, let me see. I think I'll tell Jeremiah over there in Britain. Hello, Bill. This is Scott. Send. Wait. Oh, there's Bill. Hi, Howard. Call the person up, for crying out loud. This makes people stupid.
Kind of bad that way.
It makes people stupid. They can't even type. It's one letter at a time, and they think that's an advancement. It makes them dumb down.
You can put on the little microphone and talk it, and it's supposed to type it, but it always types it wrong.
I know. Speech recognition is not given to the poor and the needy, That's exclusively in the military-industrial complex, where they get Jessica to speak just the right words in perfect etiquette for themselves, not for you. And then it makes mistakes. Just not as often. It's not, the technology at its best on this planet, reverse engineered extraterrestrial technology, is pretty archaic compared to the standard races that are out there and have been out there for many hundreds of thousands of years. Or millions. So Earth has a lot of catching up to do. And here's the thing about the people I know. They're willing to share it for free. There's no money involved. They'll bring it to this Earth and give it to everybody. But not in the condition of the way people are now, because they would just destroy themselves with it, dominate each other, rip each other off, do all the lying and cheating with it. Drug companies with billions of dollars, or Bill Gates or somebody, no offense to Bill Gates, but could decide to buy up this stuff once it gets here and hoard it. And nobody out there is going to give any planet of people doing that anything like this. They're going to have to either enlighten the people that rule this world, which is underway, and wake them up to stop doing it, or they're going to be removed. I don't mean dead. I mean taken off planet, straightened out, and brought back, because they're destructive. They're heading this world and themselves and their elite into a ditch. And they have no place out in space. They have no place amongst the stars, the way this world is and the way it's governed. This is quarantined solar system. They are never going to be allowed to come out there with all that deception, dishonesty, and lawyers out there. I'm trying to make this clear to people, and I'm talking to the leaders of the world for their benefit. No one's going to be harmed, but they do need to change and get off this lying rat bastard kick they've been on for so long. I mean, there was a time when they thought it was justifiable after World War II, but there's no justification for it anymore. People are more than conditioned from films and all that, ready for exposure.
So, okay, we say the off-planet people get the leaders' consciousness fixed. Okay, we still have a whole planet full of people that haven't.
But you're not getting this. No one is selected to have a priority over this kind of fixing. Certainly not tyrants over people who don't even know they're being manipulated by tyrants.
Mm-hmm.
It has to happen planetarily, worldwide, simultaneously. It's a gradual
Okay.
process so that all life, remember we talked about the right use of the creative imagination? The correct reason for existing as a being, not a body, is to co-create with the source, new ways of doing things for the good of all life. That's what we're supposed to do. I don't see that being happening on this planet. People create all kinds of stuff that's not good for anybody and sell it. Addictive things and destructive things and harmful things and call it proved by the FDA.
Oh, those are the last people that I care about.
It's corrupt, and it's corrupt from its core upward. And that's because the consciousness of the people running it are corrupt, or corrupted. That means they've been manipulated subconsciously without their consent, without their awareness, in ways that they never were asked first if it was going to be done to them. It was done by tyrants who would never ask them in the first place. They just do it to them.
They just do it. Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Well, you don't have to be anti-government. You're anti-corruption.
I'm not certainly not anti-United States government. I'm all for this country, but not the way it is, because it's perverted.
Exactly.
It's twisted. It's top-heavy. It's laden down with laws nobody needs by a whole system of abuse of funds, bark from a tree, an illusion, just to keep it the way it is, and it's crumbling.
And it's destroying the planet at the same time.
You can't spray things in our own atmosphere and call it good for people, because it's going to protect from intense radiation from the sun, because they're too arrogant to ask for help from off-world, because they won't be given that help the way they are. No one's going to give them that kind of help, and they're just going to abuse it and dominate everybody on the planet with it. No, it ain't going to happen. Hitler's scientists were illegally given technology to destroy this world. They were going to use Hitler and his scientists to destroy 3/4 of the population of this planet.
I didn't know
that was his agenda.
I didn't know that his agenda was that.
Of course you did. He spoke about it openly. Of course you did.
To kill that many people?
He wanted to kill everybody that wasn't white Orion pure. Pure blood is royal family bloodline thinking. That's off-world. He didn't make this up himself, Gail. He was influenced. Little gray guys under someone else's control came in and screwed with those scientists, gave them bomb technology that's illegal off this planet. The only country ever to use it on people was the United States or Japan.
To say. Yeah.
What do you mean? It's the truth. Why wouldn't I say the truth? You want me to lie to you?
No, I said I'm ashamed to say that the United States did that.
Truman was manipulated against his better judgment too. So was Eisenhower and the Kennedys and everybody else. Not in ways they would have chosen to do it on their own, uninfluenced from off-world misuse of technology on them. Illegal misuse. So you see, I don't blame them. I don't blame the presidents and military-industrial complex for the lying and rat bastard lawyers and all the rest of it, because I know what was done to them. They can't help themselves the way they are. They're going to need help from friends of mine from out of town to get off that shtick safely. I mean, nobody wants to hurt anybody's family, but certainly the lying and deception and dishonesty, the pollution of the planet is not something that can be taken into the future. The ecology of the planet will correct itself at some point. It'll just wipe out the things on the surface. It is a living being, and it will and has and could clean itself of this mess. All it'd be doing is getting rid of bodies, not the beings. They'd just be floating around with no bodies going, now what do I do with myself? It's happened many times before. There's no such thing as an original Armageddon. Forget that one. That's ancient history. Whole worlds were annihilated in that war 500,000 years ago. That's where the whole Armageddon idea comes from. Satan, the devil, reptilian is its origin. Hidden behind the scenes in Earth history, influencing leaders, demanding sacrifice. These are the cultures that people are taught in school. How dumb is that? Teach your children about tyrant royal family bloodlines as the wonders of the world. Rome, let's spectate or kill people. Purely reptilian. Oh, let's feed them to the lions. Oh, that's not human either. Let's do some Aztec and some Mayan and Sumerian. Let's do some blood sacrifice. They worship us, and then we'll give them show them how to plant food. But we'll bring our slaves to Earth and have them do all the dirty work. Mining, space-based minerals, get it off the Earth. Small pockets on Earth, never controlling the whole planet because they would have been prevented from doing that. There's your history, your real history. They don't teach that in school. Religions don't teach it. Gurus don't teach it unless they do it privately to some student and they're sworn to secrecy. To not disclose it to the public, because then they would be targeted. And when they were disclosed to the public teaching these things, they were killed or assassinated by rulers of the day. This is the real history of this world. And you know it. Anybody with common sense listening to this show knows it. I don't care if they're working in Area 51 or the head of the IRS or Trump. They all know it because they are Atmas. And underneath it all, they know, despite what was done to them. All we're endeavoring to do is wake up this part of them and clear out the crap that's surrounding that sphere with distorted images of everything.
How do you remove those distorted frequencies that are affecting the Atman?
Some of this I can do. It's called implant removal. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about little electronic microchips under your skin. That was this country's and others' military-industrial complex attempt to develop something, experimenting on our own populace against their better judgment, to find a way to undo what was done to them. Try to think about it. And it doesn't really work. Of course, you can semi-control people through the use of chip technology and the skin influence the nervous system. That's the whole idea. That wasn't the original reason they were doing it.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. I didn't know that, that originally was to help themselves.
Implant I'm talking about has nothing to do with the physical body at all. Listen to what I just said.
Yeah, I get that.
It has nothing to do with the physical body or the brain. That's not where the implant is. How are you going to find it there if it's not there?
You're not. That's why I asked if it was frequency that was able to correct the...
Well, it is, but it's more people who don't have subconscious minds that aren't affected by trauma or fear. And their nervous systems are clear and they're running bodies knowing their atmosphere. There are people I know that are quite well experienced in removing these kinds of tyrant programmings. But they don't remove it from your body. It could have an image of a crystal stuck through your solar plexus or some kind of an image you like a heart that's sticking through your shoulder. So people see it psychically and it looks friendly so you won't remove it, but it's an implant that has an image in the physical body to affect that part of your nervous system, but it's not in the body. It's not around the aura, around the physical electromagnetic field of the body. The being running the body has a field of energy around it like a transparent sphere of energy artificially created with terrorizing, dominating death and torture and murder. And if you ever wake this up, who you are will do this to you again. And then you look through that, through this colored glass at the universe and get misdirected perceptions of what's out there. Ones that says, if you look here, then it's going to turn on something in your nervous system and put you in terror. But you're not going to see or hear what's in the program, you're just going to feel it physically. Bumps on your skin, hair stands up on end, chills down your spine. It's all part of a primary implant technology. It's not Earth technology. It wasn't created on this planet. And of course, good guys out there obviously can neutralize that. But first they have to find where you were taken and stuffed in a body on Earth. And your energy signature of the atom has been masked by tyrants. First thing they had to do was break through that masking so they knew where some of their relatives and people disappeared so many hundreds of thousands of years ago. They've been reincarnating here over and over again with no memory.
Yeah, I'd like to know where I came from.
Of course you would. So what is it that would keep you from remembering that?
Tyrants.
No, they've already done their work.
The masking around
that keeps you from looking directly into waking up all this knowledge and ability. Higher faculties, what is it?
What is it that keeps me from doing it? Well, for one thing, first you have to know about it.
Then when you know about it, what keeps you from doing it?
Genomes that aren't turned on.
That's part of it. But this means you can't run certain higher faculties through the physical body because you try to make it work like it's supposed to through a physical body and it won't work. So you have to go around the body as an Atma and work them anyway. That's what I do. You don't forget about trying to change genomes on the DNA on here. There's no technique. There's nowhere you can go and pay for it to get it done here yet. You go to a psychologist and psychiatrist, they're going to give you lithium or drugs or something with addictive side effects to dumb down symptoms. That's all you're going to get out of them. That's it. So you have to do something as an Atma, as an individual, to recover what you used to know. And it takes courage.
And that's when you use your creative.
So again, I ask you, what is the thing that keeps you or anyone else from knowing with certainty what's in the multidimensional universe and who you are as an Atma and how to move it around? What is it that blocks that?
No experience or knowledge about it.
No, you see, it's so much controlled you don't even dare say it. It's terror.
Oh, okay.
That something will be done to you again that was done to you if you try to remember who you are, because that would expose who did it and when and makes them vulnerable.
Well, I have to tell you, I've had a couple of, imagination events, things that I thought of since we've been doing this, and they were pretty terrorizing. I don't mean,
but that's artificial. It's not real.
Pardon?
It's not real. It's artificial.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, or you wouldn't be sitting there. You'd be terrorized to death already. Mm-hmm. It's meant to keep you focusing on the negative so you can never recover who you are. Obviously. Mm-hmm. It affects the nervous system so that you make decisions that are contrary to your recovering who you are. Or else. That's just a program. The original experience in a primary implant happened to you. It is not a pleasant thing or an enjoyable thing to look at and remember, because you would have been tortured to death somewhere. The body's just gotten out of the way. Then they put an energy field around what they know. The tyrants know what an Atma is. They know that it's there and cannot be destroyed, or they can't injure it. But they can get it, convince it to do it to itself. With the energy it imagines in the universe, comes and co-creates with it, traps itself. Tyrants know that. Tyrants do not create or invent anything new ever. That's impossible. Nothing can be created with negative technology and negative thinking. It has to be stolen from people who don't think negatively and who actually build new things. Tyrants steal it from them and force them into labor and force them into situations so they can use it for themselves. But they never invent anything new. Only constructive, benevolent consciousness can create new things out of this living energy that have never existed before. Cures for cancer, anti-gravity, these are all inventions. Using energy or utilizing energy without polluting anything that exists in the cosmos. Their engines, their drives, channel energy that exists in the universe through it to get around. They don't burn it. They don't create exhaust. They don't even use it. They just move it through their device. Think about that. That's the way it really works. If you want to go faster than the speed of light, for instance. You cannot come up with a way to travel through wormholes and interdimensional travel on Earth. It can be stolen or given to us from extraterrestrials who have developed it way before Earth was even out of its infancy. But you can't create the know-how to go about that on Earth with negative, deceptive, lying, cheating, weaseling consciousness. Impossible. Because there's an aspect to this omnipresent energy that is designed to work for the benefit of all life. It will support any imagination you put into it, good or bad. It's supposed to be a teacher so that you learn to do the good things and not the bad, because you suffer the repercussions for the bad. as well as the good. That is what we call the experiment of evil. It's a failed experiment. It did never work in billions of years of creation. It hasn't produced the results it was intended to get beings to go into the lower worlds and cattle prod them with evil, to get their feet coming close to the fires of hell and they run away from it in the right, thinking correctly. That was the idea. It became such an effective creation that trapped beings from the source in countless numbers in the lower dimensions, and they have not been returning to that source to deliver new ways of doing things that they have come up with from all the suffering and ventures they went on, which is the whole idea. Evil as an experiment is a failed experiment, and it's being retired like the dinosaur, because something far better has come into creation recently to take its place that actually works. We're in the middle of a change, not just on Earth, in a different prophesied destiny, complete change of it, but out in creation itself, on all the worlds, in all the dimensions. Something's underway that's never been underway before. Fortunately for all of our little rascally selves living around in bodies, thinking we're bodies and all the rest of that stuff. I mentioned this before, but these bodies in this form have been around for hundreds of millions of years, several billion. These weren't developed on Earth. This DNA didn't come out of our sea or from monkeys or Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal. It's nonsense.
It didn't.
No. That's what people are taught, and it's theory. They teach you theory. It's just somebody made it up to try to connect the dots that aren't there to connect on Earth. They are on other worlds out there. If you want to find the missing link, you will never find it on this planet, because there's not a living thing on this planet that was not imported here originally from elsewhere. Period. Evolution, once on the planet, can take its course, natural change, some DNA changes. Color of a bird's feathers could change, something like that. But the original species that are on this planet, most of them did not originate here. Dolphins, whales, Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon were humanoid species experimented on other planets and put here that died out. They were done. We did not come from, and we're not part of them any more than we're part of monkeys. They can say, oh, the DNA is so close. Well, so is the DNA close to a frog and a human being. What are you going to try to compare the two? No, I mean, it's to discover much about who and what we are, you have to remember your own history. And most of that history is not on this planet. Most people haven't got a clue about what I just said. Do you think I blame them for that? No. I know how diabolically they were messed with in galactic history in order to end up on this planet in a body with no memory. And they think that's normal. And it is not.
You know that from the direct experience that you've had with your friends from off planet, correct?
Well, of course. I don't ever share anything. My books, I sometimes regret, and then I stop myself, that I published these books in a fiction category, but I was instructed to do that, consulted with, from people from off-world, because there are certain events, tiny little things, but a couple of characters' names in the books that I changed or altered, which makes them fictional, to protect people on this earth. Under consultation, certain things that would, if I'd gone too far with it and made it, published the books as nonfiction, people would have tried to find bases, and they would have gotten themselves in a lot of trouble. And it'd put me on the spot, have to give everybody a spaceship ride, which is not my job or my responsibility. And they'd demand proof of this and proof of that without getting off their butts and lifting a finger to remember anything themselves. I'd be on the spot. I'd never have a moment's rest. So I tell people right from day one that they are based entirely on my direct experience. I try to explain this to people, and if they don't understand it, it's too damn bad. I only do so much with people who don't remember who they are, because you're going to misunderstand most of what you say anyway, initially, until they get a little more woken up and then begin to realize that what I've been sharing with them is knowledge they once possessed. I'm not giving them anything except the new ray and the hue. That is new, and what it does. We can get into that before we go on our journey a little more.
Okay.
But when I'm speaking to you on this show, I'm not talking to you. I'm not a talking head with a body. I'm an Atma running this body, and it's doing a telepathic thing from above the body with the listeners and with you. And you're telepathic, and you're hearing it and responding, even if you're not conscious of the fact. Because human beings are telepathic. Human beings are telepathic, really, not psychic. When somebody does something like a psychic reading, they read into the lower two energy streams, positive and negative, in the lower four dimensions, astral, causal, mental. If they're very good, maybe etheric. Most of them don't even know about the upper worlds any more than most Buddhist monks do. So they're reading things based on streams of information in these two streams, and they're opposed to each other. One's negative, one's positive. If they're attaching themselves to it as a being, one time they could get it right, the next time they'll get it wrong, because the wave through the lower universe moves like a sine wave, a node and an anode. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's on the way up, sometimes it's down. So it's not reliable. People mean well, it just means that if you take all the people past prophesied prognosticators of future events. I don't know why to use that word. So many people, nobody hardly uses prognosticators. Predictors of the future, let's make it simple. They've never, ever, ever been right. Ever once. 12 midnight at 1300 night, 2000 something or other, is this and that's going to happen? End of the world? No. And they always have a reason, self-justified, as to why it didn't happen. They come up with a new date and they make money on this. And I don't begrudge them that as long as their work is beneficial to other people. That's it. So, but when you get into telepathy, the reason I'm making this is not to put down psychic people or psychics or anything like that. They have a proper place in this world. It's to say that there is a much higher field of energy that people can work with that gives them undistorted, direct, knowing understanding. That is not theory, or it could be, or it might be, or it's faith or belief. No. And that works through the hue, and it goes from the core of a being into the omnipresent center of all creation. A direct line with no intermediary. This is the nature of the Atma, who we really are. And it's the nature of that source. We are comprised of exactly that same kind of non-material energy. It is energy, but not as people understand it on Earth. It's not molecules and atoms. It's behind that. And we might be a drop of this in a mighty ocean of it, but it's the same thing. We are exactly the same as the supreme source, I don't want to use that word, prime creator, the source behind all life. Exactly, the same faculties on a smaller scale. Our purpose is to co-create new ways of doing things and deliver it back to that source, to be downloaded, to be tested in the lower worlds by certain beings that do that, to see if it comes back as an energy wave when you try something new. In the lower dimensions, does it come back true, necessary, and kind? Because if one of those three is out, it's never employed. If all three come back, that one's very rare. Then they all get on board with that in the upper source energy and change things down here. And that's the process we're in right now. People haven't got a clue. People running this world right now, some of them get an insight into it and they're scared to death of it. But then they realize over time that whatever that new energy is that's coming here, including in ships they cannot affect in any way, that they've never been hurt. They've never been shot or taken out of office, or nothing's ever been done to them, even though they're diabolical and abusing people all the time. But the consciousness is changing. In them, right now, a good percentage of the people in the classified arena on this planet, generals and people high up in office and all over the place, don't want to do what they're doing anymore because it makes them ill. Lying and deception and deceit are negative uses of the imagination. The core puts out an imaginative energy to control other atmas. This omnipresent force will fill it. People unconscious will add to it and want to be suppressed or want a big brother to rule over them. That whole thing perpetuates itself, and then nothing changes. But the people in those arenas are changing. Most of them want to disclose everything and get off that, because that negative deception will cause disease in them and their families. It is reciprocal. It's the law of physics. Mm-hmm. There is no future thinking like that. There's no U.S. out in space and Star Trek with all these races. No. It's never going to be like that. It's nice that these programs have come out because they show people the possibility of so many different kinds of races that aren't human. They might be bipedal with 2 arms and 2 legs, but very different. Some good, some bad, and it gets people ready to start to raise kids on a planet that's waking up, knowing that there are billions of other worlds out there, and that kids are going to grow up going on field trips to other planets, and not in rocket ships, for crying out loud. If we want that kind of a world, just in the physical reality, then we have to do our part on this planet, and that means every last living thing on this planet, without exception.
Do you think we'll see most of this change in our lifetime?
People ask me that all the time, so answer your own question. I'm not going to get into the debate of that. Give you dates and times so you can lock your attention on it and not do anything to change in the meantime? No, I'm not going to do it. If I knew when this exact dates for transforming this planet,
I'm not looking for exact dates.
I would never say them.
There aren't. Who knows them anyway?
I know a lot of things I don't talk about, but I don't because it's beneficial for people that I do not. Doesn't mean I'm lying or deceiving anyone. It means there's some things they're not ready to handle, where they would live a balanced, their nervous system wouldn't collapse on them, and they could live, keep things in place, have their families completely enlightened. There's a process to go through for people to do that while they keep their bodies and their lives intact. People from other worlds are not going to come help people transform here by having this massive collapse of finance and people starving in the street. And, that's not going to happen. Or it already would have, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's 1945 when they used 2 atomic bombs on Japan, if only and ever any atomic weapons were used on masses of non-military people. Truman did that. That was done more to test what it would do than to save lives or whether it was needed or not. They had to have an excuse to test it.
Oh, that's pathetic.
Well, yeah, but you got to realize how manipulated and misdirected they were to think like that at the time. These guys made the big mistake of bringing Nazi, dedicated people to Hitler, scientists into this country in Russia, at the end of the war. And the little gray guys and little manipulations and misuse that were perpetrated upon them was brought into both countries with them. And they were pardoned and put in the head of our secret organizations. And you wonder where you got this technology from? From the good guys? No. No. Because they wouldn't give advanced technology to people that are deceitful like that and dishonest. It would be destructive. And that's all that it ever is. What is a nuclear reactor? It costs 10 times more money to get electricity out of a nuclear plant than natural gas. And this country is the richest source of natural gas in the world. So why does it make any sense to anyone to spend 10 times more money to boil water to make steam to drive turbines from materials that will kill you if they get out of their lead-lined box? If one of those isotopes got out in this city and fell on the ground, most people in the state would die. It's that stupid. You're going to have nuclear-powered spaceships, radioactive in space? They're illegal. They're not going to let them take that kind of technology out there.
I remember arguing with a brother-in-law I had who was a civil engineer who was building a nuclear power plant. This was years ago.
If you were an advanced culture on another planet and a member of an organization of hundreds of millions of worlds, and you saw this little Earth trying to come out here with this, we're going to bring some lawyers on board. We're going to lie to all you guys, and we're going to get your technology from you, and Oh, we're going to go out, take over, and get some of your moons and mine your minerals. No. No. That kind of thing is as obvious as a light bulb in a dark room to people from out there. They know what it is. They're not gonna let that come out and pollute everything out there.
Mm-hmm.
They got enough dealing with tyrant races that they've quarantined and police and are changing right now as we speak. Mm-hmm. They're not going to let a little earth fledglings come out there and with all of their negativity and fear and deception to their own people and come out here and play among the stars. It's never going to happen, ever, the way this world is now, because this solar system is quarantined by more advanced races, deliberately for our own good and for their good.
Gee, I get it.
I want to make sure that's clear, but you might get it, but your listeners are just beginning to see some of this now. And even then, it's unreal to them because they still wonder, like, is there life on other planets? Well, gee, I don't know. I'm just a physical body. I say, well, do you go to bed every night and put your body to sleep? Well, yeah. Well, why do you do that? Why do you need to lay your body down and go unconscious for 8 hours? What's going on? Are you aware when you're asleep? Someone yelled at you when you're deep sleep, they won't even respond. You got to shake them to come back to that body because they're not there. So you ask people, well, don't you want to know what you're doing at night when you put the body to sleep? Because you're out of your body every night. You're an atma, not a body. You've been made to not know this and forget about it, but you can recover this. What's normal for people in other worlds is so different than what's on Earth today.
Mm-hmm. You know, every time we talk about this, it reminds me of the movie Avatar, where the guy was, you know, during the day he was a regular guy, and then at night he was another being. But
yeah, all that was a genetically manufactured body between Navi DNA and human DNA. They had 5 fingers when the Navi only had 4 because a human were in them. And then they could use the DNA to run a consciousness through it. Uh-huh. That's like what an Atma does, except the people doing it thought they were the body. You know, they knew they were a consciousness leaving that body to go into another body and run it. That thing that was being moved through a machine was the Atma, not the brain of that person.
Yeah, yeah.
The brain, as you know, the guy goes to, you know, suddenly they turn the machine on. He's like gone. He's in the trance state. The body's put asleep and he goes. They keep it alive in that machine, breathing, and everything's just fine.
Yeah, you made me think of that just now about, you know, when he was in the other form, he was still the Atma running that form as well.
Well, I think there's some truth in these films that are coming out, that have come out, that are designed to make people remember. But you remember, it's still a classified system. So that they're disclosing this truth gradually over many decades. But their original plan was when Majestic 12 and this classified organization was created under Truman, made up of scientists and military generals, a few political people, CIA, things like that. Truman was kind of the head of it. And the original bylaws were to classify anything to do with extraterrestrial knowledge, no matter what, keep it clamped down. Because they wanted people to rebuild a damaged world, be baby boomers, feel safe that our militaries could protect them, the war is over. So if they started telling people that they're beings that presidents are meeting with, they're tyrants, and those that are good under treaty, and that scared the pants off them, you can't have scared the hell out of the president. What's he going to tell all the people and freak them out so that ruined after World War II to even get up and function, rebuild a damaged world? People go to work and rebuild bombed cities and all, you know, and make babies and all that, pay taxes. So they classified it. 35 countries decided to do that. And this country was really the head of knowing more than anyone else about it.
They what?
We had a technological edge in a way for doing it.
Oh.
Russia certainly got its share of Nazi scientists. The Nazi scientists weren't working on nuclear bombs as a primary thing. They were working on anti-gravity and wormholes and space technology. They were way ahead of us, but not because they were brighter, because they were legally given information they did not earn. When you don't earn something, you tend to abuse it. You tend to use it, comes for free. It's easy. You can beat people over the head with it. And the tyrants influencing those people at the time wanted them to be just like they were, willing to kill off masses of people, illegally breaking a treaty off world to do it. And of course they was policed, and they were caught, and Hitler lost, and so did everyone else in that war. After 5 years, it ended. Japan lost. Then you had the Soviet Union and communism coming out of all that. That was through the negative side of the scientists that were brought into their country, by the way. And this was going on before World War II, back in World War I, and turn of the century as well. 100 years is nothing to some of these races from the stars. Some of them can be very patient to get control of resources. So our history really isn't what people want to. Most people don't even want to look at what their real history is because they're afraid of it. They're terrorized by it because they murdered them and put them on earth with no memory. Not an easy thing to confront. However, when a person gets to the point where they can review that safely as a memory, it just becomes a memory. It no longer affects their nervous system. They're no longer misdirected by it. And other faculties begin to wake up. That's important.
Very.
Let's go on a little journey before we talk all day.
Okay.
I work with, as you know, in these other shows, Perry shows too, radio shows I've been on, countries I visited, done presentations, experiential-based presentations at special conferences around the world that for the most part the world doesn't even know ever happened to this day. And yet they're changing the energy that's coming into this world. That's what they were for. So it wasn't done for fame and fortune and money. It was done to change things. I didn't come to this world. I came to this world voluntarily, but my mission here was, let's just say, exposed and intercepted. I came here originally to talk with leaders of this world to start to change this. Now I'm actually carrying out this mission safely and with many others, many decades later. But I've had to first wake up to who I was and what was repressed in me in this body, because the one I had was destroyed. So this is all about helping people to recover what and who they are before they were born in this lifetime. And I don't mean another body on another planet like a past life. I mean who they are that isn't a physical body. If they want to know the multidimensional universe and what races and beings are out there and play among the stars and in higher dimensions, then they can only do that in their true form. And you can only do that if you're aware of it. So I work with this omnipresent sound. It mimics it, really. There's a sound in the energy field underlying all creation, even in the void of space. Scientists on this planet know there's this vast field of energy running through the void of space, which they say is a vacuum, means there's no oxygen or atmosphere. But there's actually visible energy in it running, connecting everything together that's not made of atoms. It is the powerhouse behind atoms that motivates them to spin. Finer, does not observe or follow the normal laws of physics. And they know that from the CERN Super Collider, the Large Hadron Collider in CERN, Switzerland. And they crash particles together and they measure this energy. Since they don't know what it does or how it works, doesn't follow the laws of physics as they thought, they call it the God particle. Maybe it's respectful. But it's a living, vibrant energy of which we're all comprised that runs through the entire creation. World to world, from suns to planets, to moons to planets, to the void of space, between galaxies, parallel dimensions, and higher realities, on a way up, past the void known to most Buddhist monks, up into the other worlds above that, which are made of pure positive energy. There's no duality, no time and space there. They don't work like here at all.
I think that's where I came from. No.
Of course it is. There's a void between the two, which I guess most Buddhist monks think that that's the end. There's nothing beyond it. Because they've never been taught that there is. They don't look. But There is. When the energy moves from the upper worlds through this void, it splits into two currents, woven together normally in harmony, into the etheric, mental, causal, astral, and physical worlds. All have 144 parallel dimensions in each of them. It isn't unlimited as scientists or quantum physics is unlimited number of parallel dimensions. No. There is a limited amount. It'll be enough for them to get their heads wrapped around even thinking about exploring 144 levels of the Milky Way galaxy alone, one galaxy. And there is all that. Throw the phone down the hall. There is all of that, and actually, you and I, and Atma actually has, and I'm going to move this out here too. We actually have the ability as a being to comprehend all this, but not as a brain, not as a human body. That brain you have there only grew up in this lifetime. It doesn't know anything off this planet other than what you bring back to it and download to it as memory. And if you don't download memory from what you're doing at night, then you're not going to have it. It's like, looking at the body go to sleep and then you kind of identify with it. I'm going to go unconscious for 8 hours too. But that's not what you really do. When the body goes into a deep sleep, you're gone. What are you doing all those nights? What's everybody else doing all those nights? If they knew, this world would not be like it is. They wouldn't stand for it. Nobody on earth would even tolerate this for a second, the way it is right now. So right now, people are coming back unconscious in the morning. Sometimes they have a nice dream. Maybe it's scattered. Maybe there's people chasing them. Sometimes they'll have a dream of flying. They'll be in some beautiful world in paradise, and they'll come back here and go, wow, what a great dream. And then they'll go eat a hot dog, and they'll go to work, and they'll pay taxes and forget all about it. It doesn't add up because they think they're making it up here in their brain. Mm-hmm. Reality is there's nothing in the skull, in the gray matter of the brain that can imagine anything. There's no device or mechanism in the brain to see anything. The only thing that can see and comprehend dimension and depth and multidimensional reality is the Atma itself that runs a brain and a body, not the other way around. And this is where people have been very, very seriously tampered with on this planet. Not only is there what they are as an Atma misdirected, but the genomes that make up the DNA in human bodies on Earth have been tampered with. Not originally from Earth.
That explains our junk DNA. It was not junk.
No, and they know it isn't now. They just don't know what it is. There's 1 billion genomes on the DNA. Each one is a switch. And if you knew the science of accessing and turning off and on those switches, you could live 1,000 years, regrow a heart, regrow a limb, whatever. Turn your hair a different color. You're the one in charge then. And if you're doing that, you have to be responsible with many other beings on many worlds to do kind things, or you're just going to create havoc with that kind of higher capability. An imagination undisciplined, run amok in fear and negativity, influenced by primary subconscious negative things, will destroy worlds without meaning to. So we have to recover who we are as a being and our true original purpose first. That's to be a co-creator, trustworthy, reliable, conscious co-creator with the source itself. That is the destiny of each and every single Atma, whether it's in a human, humanoid, or an extraterrestrial body of some kind, that has higher genetic structure through which higher faculties can be channeled. If certain genomes on the DNA of human beings on this earth were turned on, the higher faculties you're used to using would work through this body properly. You find yourself in a body on earth growing up as a child, and you start pushing buttons you're used to pushing to make things happen, like get out of your body at will, and they don't work.
That's sad.
That's how people get trapped here. But don't feel alone, because that's everybody on this planet. Everyone, including the gurus, one way or another. Because these kinds of illusions are created and promoted even in the astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes to less degrees, gets into finer energy. But the tyrant natures are still there, these upper heavens. You have to get above the void into the other worlds to get out of that whole negative thing.
The first level above the void is the home of the Atma. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's what's considered to be the home of the Atma. It's not the original source of it. But the being that runs that place, his name means true name. True name is the sound current. It is the hue, the omnipresent living current under all things. And that being represents it. He also oversees the beings that run the planes below. And they're basically tyrants, run by fear as well. And that being in the Atma plane had to go through a change in consciousness in order to begin to direct and change those beings as well. You had to start up there for it to change down here. You cannot change anything from the earth upward. You have to go into the upward and change everything downward in lower vibrations. So there's a whole history here that people can recover. They're capable of it. And they're probably going to hear it for the first time from me, said in this way. And the way I'm saying it is telepathic. It means that it's communicating not data, but a stimulant, an energy of the hue that helps people begin to remember. So let's go on a little journey, get people relaxed, and I'll go into the hue and I'll do a number of tones. I do this intentionally to raise the tone vibration up. So as I'm doing it, the body of people, when they're comfortable, they're sitting back in a chair or laying on bed or on the ground or whatever, they're going to put their body in the trance state, the very same thing they do every night with the body when they put it to sleep. Mm-hmm. The difference is they're going to be conscious when the body goes into that state, and we're going to go on a journey. So my voice is going to be instrumental in sharing with them what to see and where we're going. But I want to make it important. It's important for people to understand that they're co-creating this with their own creative imagination. People can see and know and do things when they're out of their body in ways far superior to being stuck in a brain or a body on Earth, which is very limiting. So we want to get out of the physical trap, get out in the multidimensional universe as beings and do a little exploration, see a little bit again, comprehend more, remember more, and then we'll bring that back to the body because every little bit helps. And as people send out the hue, it's like sending out a request to beings who are free, who didn't grow up on Earth, who do not have subconscious minds. They don't have a subconscious mind at all, through which they can be controlled. Subconscious means you're not aware of what's being done to you. That's what subconscious mind means. It's not normal.
We've been made to believe it's normal.
So when we go into the hue, we're actually working with the pineal gland in the center of the brain of a physical human body. And it sets up a sympathetic vibration, turns on these little rods and cones in the pineal gland, the center of the brain, which are designed to connect into different frequencies all over the multiverse. They're like rods and cones in the eyes, but they aren't for seeing physical light. That's what your eyes are for. When you see physical matter through the physical eyes, you're seeing a small level of vibrational frequencies that have physical light and texture and sound and sight and color. But the Atma can see a spectrum clear out through the top of the planet in size compared to human eyes. Because it has 360-degree knowing perceptive in any direction. Planets and stars and galaxies and all of that spin and turn and have their structure based on what an Atma looks like. Roughly. I mean, they're spherical. Atmas aren't matter like an earth and an ocean, but they do have a structure. And so beings that are Atmas like us created universes and galaxies and planets and doorways between dimensions and all that. If you go back beyond space and time, in the upper worlds where you came from, where there is no space and time, and part of you is still there. Knowing it is another matter.
Yes, indeed.
So that's the part of the recovery process. On the other side of a long journey in lifetimes, you begin to recover your purpose and you begin to become a spiritual scientist. we begin to co-create new ways of doing things. We become motivated, the fiery passion to return to that source and share what new insights we have to change the way things are down here. Evil as an experiment. What a joke that is. Let's do away with that. It's way overdone. Long past its time to go. What would the universe that exists and all the dimensions and galaxies be? What would we do with them if the experiment of evil was no longer a part of it? Nobody knows, because we haven't done it yet. It's like you've got amoebas and microbes that were the building blocks of original DNA life that are still alive on Earth in particular, competing with higher forms that developed that beings could run, like these bodies. On other worlds, they get rid of their microscopic life that is no longer useful. They don't have disease from bacteria and viruses and all that. They did away with them. They're not necessary anymore.
Nice.
And if they have that science and they're willing to give it to us, only insane people refuse it. Unfortunately, the people on this world are not sane yet. They're really not, or they would have jumped on this a long time ago. There's things in them subconsciously that are misdirecting them to lean in controlling, negative, deceptive, deceitful directions. That's negative, and that produces negative results always for the people doing it as well. They still die, they still get disease. They'll pass it on to the same classified people, and they keep perpetuating something that is not only top-heavy and toxic and tiring, but they live in terror themselves of the future, of people from other worlds, their own destiny as a being and their destiny of the planet. They live in terror, and they throw it out on everyone else. And the people live in terror, one way or another, living their normal lives, driving a car. Underneath it all, they know there's something not quite right. The clock isn't quite ticking correctly on this planet with people. Something's missing. Most people know something that they used to know was taken from them without their consent or current awareness. And we have a right to recover that. My purpose for being on this planet is to spearhead that recovery. I have no other motivation for being here. It isn't money. It's not fame or fortune. It's not to acquire property or anything like that. I can do all those things without being attached to them, because to me they are just energy and it should be used correctly for the good of all life. So if people will get relaxed, take several deep breaths, and when you breathe out, just imagine, just do it, putting all your fears and concerns for yourself and your body and your future of the planet, out in your environment with your body is, on the carpet, on a chair, on a couch, whatever. Just use it as computer tapes. They've got fear and uncertainty and doubt and this and that, age and health and all this stuff, and money and taxes and governments. And just put it all aside for now, because we're not taking any of that with us. Imagine someone you love and respect. You're grateful they are in your life, whatever that may be, person, place, or thing, religious leader, whatever makes you smile inside, glow, like a childlike wonder, whatever that might be. Because it is a constructive, positive use of the imagination to open a certain door through the pineal gland in the center of the brain that connects to a current in the center of your own being running that body to the nervous system and the brain of your body. It is a protected, pure channel, a telepathic link to this physical body. Imagine yourself hovering above your body, above where the ceiling is, maybe a couple feet across, spherical, with a white core the size of a baseball, and a layer several inches away from that would be kind of yellow, from white to yellow. Teardrop-shaped, self-effulgent lights, each one that's self-luminous, that is a higher faculty of being. Then it goes to kind of an orange layer further out, and then a red one, and then a kind of a green, and then a blue, and then a violet, then a lavender, and then a gold energy kind of running through the space between the teardrops, and a nice golden energy glow around the being. That is what you really look like as an Atma, or what people on earth call soul. It does not look like a human body at all. It does not have arms and legs. Genetic beings have that. Those are devices. The human body runs at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a carbon-based DNA type of higher scientifically developed machine from higher realities, so that beings could get in them, play in the planes that the matter they're made of, but be free to move them and get in and out of them, not be stuck in them, for exploration and experimental purposes, to create new ways of doing things. You're above your body in this form, looking down on it fondly. Your body has got the eyes closed. Hopefully you're listening and trying this out. Remember that you're not doing anything more than putting the body in the trance state called sleep. You do it every night anyway. Easy as pie. Okay? When any of you are daydreaming, you imagine a beautiful waterfall or a hummingbird or the beach or the mountain or ski slope or something. You're actually not making this up in the brain. You're seeing it as a being. When your physical eyes are closed, the eyes are not connected to receiving light from the outside world. So there's nothing of any imagery coming into you from outside. And then if you see a ball in your hand, or walking in a lavender grass field, or smelling gardenia or lavender, or looking at a beautiful hummingbird hover up near your face, look you in the eyes intelligently, and then dart off. We do it all the time. What's important is that people become aware that they are not actually making this up out of memories and brain cells. They're seeing it somewhere in the universe. It's not the physical body with the eyes closed that's seeing. It's a you, the real you. Be in the atmosphere above your body, 5,000 feet up high. If it's daytime, that's fine. If it's nighttime, you glow. You radiate a light that lights up your surroundings like daylight, and you can see the stars at night. And look down and see that you have a spherical form of yourself, a duplicate, if you will, hovering above the body in the trance state called sleep. I'm going to begin these tones while we're still on Earth in these two forms. Spherical in the atmosphere, spherical above your body, and the body in a chair or lying down. And this will bring about, what will happen is the real you will co-create, having the pineal gland secrete melatonin, create serotonin, put the body in automatic. Heart working, lungs working, everything's fine. There's a telepathic, unbreakable link from you, the core of your white being, the white core of your center of your being, to the pineal gland that runs the body. This is how you run it. I'll begin these tones now. You. Can be aware of your body in the trance state called sleep. Even when you're on another planet or out in space, you can look back and see the body and the sphere hovering above it. That's you. You can see the sphere hovering at 5,000 feet in your atmosphere above your city, looking down through your roof, seeing you there. Be in space above the planet, in orbit, like the space shuttle. And the Atma does not need to breathe oxygen. It doesn't feel heat and cold. It can if it chooses to, but it's not vulnerable to them. And if you see out of the Atma in every direction, hovering in space, you can look down and see the polar ice caps of the planet. Turning on its axis, you can see the land and the vast oceans. The barren moon that does not turn on its axis orbits the planet, always facing us the same face. And you can see the sun off in the distance and billions of stars in every direction. And if you look, you'll see that the black void of space that appears that way to physical eyes looking through astronomical devices or radio telescopes, or visually with cameras aboard the space shuttle or the Hubble telescope. You will see an energy of white light with a gold tinge running through the entire void of space between worlds. It goes up as far as you can see and below your feet in every direction. This is the omnipresent hue, first sound behind all creation, not made of matter, the God particle, the source behind it all. The only reason galaxies spin on their axis and suns radiate light and have their nuclear reaction, and moons orbit planets and planets orbit suns, is because beings that you do not know exist are keeping the mechanics of creation in place as part of the experiment to come up with new ways of doing things. In space, you'll notice that if you look, you'll see a sphere hovering near you. That's me. The white core radiating a gold light around it, bright. And you'll see Gail, you'll see other people. And you'll know that yourself is here amongst us. And we're in a circle around a being who comes forward from the center around us, hovering in space, bit larger sphere than us, brilliantly beautiful, same like us though. And this is Ambassador Turellian. He is the ambassador of the Seres race. They are human, or once were. Had 8-stranded DNA, did not evolve in our galaxy or in Andromeda, and they were responsible for bringing into creation, developing genetic forms such as human and many others, and bringing those genetics up to a point where Atmas like themselves could run them and operate these forms of perception in different planes of matter. But they had the freedom to move in and out of those bodies and weren't stuck with them. The purpose for this is to find and create new ways of doing things in different dimensions, to make the lower dimensions mirrors of the upper worlds, which have no negative in them. This has never been accomplished, but it is underway. So Turellian is in the center of us, not because he's a tyrant, not because he controls us, because he doesn't, because he's highly focused and very advanced, and keeps us focused on this journey so we get something from it. Otherwise, the universe is vast and you can get scattered running off in a billion different directions that will not benefit you. Turellian is telepathic. The Sayres immortalized their physical bodies more than 1 billion years ago, after bringing many races into creation like the one we have. We have genomes in our DNA from them. So do other races amongst the stars. Not all of them human, but bipedal, 2 arms, 2 legs, that kind of thing. The Sayres were also responsible for bringing into creation body forms not human, that are kind, that don't have 2 arms and legs, but are intelligent. The Atmas can run those forms. Then they vanished long ago, retired in a sense, secret, to see what we'd all do with it. And they were working with beings from a higher reality above the void, the higher worlds at the time. So Turellian's a good friend. When he was around, he had a body 18 feet tall. These were humans who had very, very highly developed human beings, very tall compared to us on Earth, 18 to 25 feet tall. And that's what they were before they immortalized their bodies. They didn't make their bodies live forever. They turned them into energy and stored them in one of the faculties, in one of the layers of their being. When they need a physical body now, anywhere in creation, they'll just energetically make one up on the spot. You could go up and touch it, and you could shake hands with them, but he'd have an awful big hand. They can make that body tall or smaller, but they only manifest it to carry out certain missions or things they're doing. So the Sayres are human, originally were. And we get our structure as human beings from them. And this original prototype to this level of evolution as a genetic form was not started or created to this level on this planet Earth. No human on this planet. In fact, most of the plant and animal and mammalian life, fish in the seas, were imported to this world from other planets. That's why it's such a mix. Dinosaurs didn't actually evolve on this planet either. They were brought here long ago, 55, 65 million years ago, before that, as an experiment in evolution and genetics. And then when they were done, they reached the pinnacle of what they were useful for, they were done away with. Human beings in this form and many other races have been coming to this planet for more than 55 million years. Out here in space, you look at time differently. Experience yourself hovering as a being, spherical in nature, the radiant white core, amongst other kind beings. You're going to notice that a man and a woman, or a masculine and feminine Atma, are usually a husband and wife team from what's called the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, a core group in this galaxy, are volunteers, and they're here out of their bodies from their ships to join us on this journey. They act as kind of protectors for each person on the journey to make sure that your subconscious primary terrorizing implant is not turned on this journey. So you can actually be free and feel yourself moving through the universe as an Atma like you should be. And remember that you are all co-creating this. When you imagine seeing yourself floating out in space, you're actually doing it. Even if you doubt it, some voice tells you, you can't do that, you're not smart enough. Or it's just coming from your brain. The brain's back on Earth in the trance state called sleep, basically off, except to run the body. You are up here. Trillian is asking all of you and some others who are starting to form a second row of beings behind us, if you want to go on a little journey. You look out in the vastness of space, just in the physical universe alone, well, you go, where do I go amongst all that? I would take us down the time track into the past, but I think maybe that's better for another time, when people listening to the show will have a little bit more real recall of some of those lives, so that it can be beneficial for them to review them, because not all of them were pleasant. But let's go to one of my favorite places on Earth, but it's not on the physical Earth you're used to. No. It is in a 3-level up molecular time rate vibration parallel dimension from the Earth you know, on Earth, in a different Earth, at a different molecular time rate frequency. It means that the atoms that make up that reality all vibrate at the same time rate. And it is different from the ones that molecules that vibrate at a time rate in the Earth we're used to. And the physical form you have is not designed to perceive or be affected by beings and things in these other realities, these parallel dimensions. Most of them that of places I go are more advanced than people on Earth, so they can know us and see us here and move back and forth between there and here, mostly to save this planet from annihilation, which they've done a lot of in the last 60 years. But it behooves us to go on this journey and start to become aware of them, fellow beings. You look down on Earth from space, and you'll see that Trillian is sending out an energy wave that looks like the heat wave in a desert, moving across the planet Earth and the moon, out in space. And then it changes, it ripples like a drop of water in a pond, and in the next instant, you see a different Earth in the same place. All we've done is raise the vibration up a little bit through the hue, actually through the new ray in the hue. And we will talk about that while we're out of our bodies. This Earth has one major continent stretching across the equator from the left hemisphere to the right, halfway around the planet. Extends about 2/3 of the way up in the northern and southern hemispheres. And you're going to see golden letters, luminous, appear on the surface of this land. You're looking at Earth in a different parallel dimension. There are no polar ice caps. Everything else is ocean. And as the world turns before your eyes, you see another continent centered over the equator, 2/3 its size. And you look at the moon, which was barren, and you see that it has atmosphere and small oceans and rivers and mountains and domed cities, sparse domed cities, 5 or 6. And that moon is turning on its axis. These are prototypes. When the world turns around again, you see the big continent stretching over the left and right hemisphere, and you see the words in gold letter, Lemuria, and underneath it, MU. You look through the planet to the backside and you see Atlantis, what people call these today. This is a place in a parallel dimension where Lemurian Atlantis, particularly Lemuria, was not destroyed 100,000 years ago. when the poles flipped overnight 180 degrees. This is in a parallel dimension where that never happened. And adepts, spiritually advanced and highly technologically advanced beings from other worlds, have places of operation here. And they do a lot of good for this world. They've actually basically kept this planet from self-annihilating 12 separate times since the end of World War II. They don't try to control governments, but they will not tolerate nuclear war, fortunately for all of us. If you look at this continent, you will know from a deep past that the Lemuria or Mu in the planet we're used to was destroyed 100,000 years ago. The poles flipped, they sank, new land masses rose up from the ocean depths, creating the continental land masses we have today. And you can see Atlantis on the other side, 2/3 the size of Lemuria. It was a colony continent, nearly independent. And you see that in the history, both continents sank, except for a 500-mile square island, which got situated off where you call the Bermuda Triangle area today. People get confused about all this, and they think it was in Greece or Mediterranean or Africa or somewhere. But you must remember that back 100,000 years ago, the poles of this planet were 180 degrees opposite of what they are today. So you have to imagine where those continents were destroyed. Poles flip over, and there's this little 500-mile square volcanic island. New land masses raise up, and then you get a better perspective of things. People also tend to remember, some people, bits and pieces of lives they've lived either on this Atlantis in later times, the island, or on the original Lemurian Atlantis, way back further. And they might remember a part of a life 30,000 years in the development of that culture, and then 50,000 or 70 or 80 or 90 or the time it was destroyed. And they're all different evolutionary cycles for that 100,000 years. So people mix things up quite a bit on Earth, and they argue about when and where these places were and what they were like. And in a way, they're all right, but just from a different point on the timeline. You're seeing now a Lemuria from space that never sank. No polar ice caps. A vibrant, alive moon turning on its axis. The bottom, there's the world, the continent over the equator. Down here near the bottom, here's the South Pole, is a half-moon shaped bay, half-moon shaped bay, emerald green beach with emerald green sand. You can see it from space. Turellian and us circling around him like stars spinning around a galactic core are going to move down through this atmosphere of this planet. And we're going to come and float down through the air until we come upon, hovering above this green, emerald green, half-moon bay-shaped sandy beach. Perfect, clear, turquoise blue ocean water. Warm, balmy, 72-degree weather. Slight breeze. Gigantic jungle trees along the inside edge of this sandy beach, and a 3-foot wide brown path cutting through the jungle, going straight back, and huge ferns, prehistoric looking. And you feel feet, bare feet, extending from the atmosphere you are, sinking into the emerald green sand. You can feel it. This is a projection of human feet, kind of a form, a way to have tactile sensation in this reality. What you're really doing is putting sensors down from the white core into the sand to see what it's like if you had a body here. And you can feel a cool but vibrant energy racing up your legs from this continent in a protected environment. And it goes into the white core of your being, kind of lights it up. And then goes out into the third level of what makes up the structure of the Atma or soul, and lights up some of those teardrop shapes, turns them on. And you can see that Torellian and myself and others are moving up above the sand now, over the tops of the trees, following this brown path. It goes inland several miles to a huge circular field of tall 4-foot-high lavender grass. And there's a clearing in the center of this huge lavender grass field, maybe 50 acres, 100 acres of it. And it has a white marble stone floor. And off to the left, you can see a lazy river snaking its way along the outer edge of this violet field, and in the distance, snow-capped mountain range. This is where the water comes from. And along the edge of this circular field are very tall eucalyptus-type trees. But the leaves hanging down to the ground are glowing with a blue-violet light. They're self-luminous. And the river looks like a dark green, moving very slow. And off to the right, you can see a snow-capped mountain and a waterfall pouring out of an opening 2/3 the way up towards the summit. And off in the distance in the middle, you see a large, clear dome city over 3 golden-sided pyramids with quartz crowns, centered around a long, oval, ivory-colored or moonstone-colored dome. And it's situated at the base of this snow-capped mountain. And then there's blue-green forests surrounding it and coming down the mountainsides that eventually become tropical in this same environment near the coast. On the white stone floor, at the end of this brown path, in the center of it, there is a, 2.5 by 2 feet high blue lapis lazuli type stone, blue with gold veins running through it, polished smooth. And standing on it is a female woman, looks like an angel. It is made of quartz, it's polished, it's a device. There are big, huge angelic wings open upward behind the back of this woman. She has a golden band around her forehead, long black hair, vibrant violet eyes, and a green emerald stone faceted in the center of this forehead of this gold band. Slightly pointed ears. If you look at this, she has her 2 hands palms up, facing outward, towards the brown path leading to the emerald green beach. And they have a kind of a glow around them. The angelic wings are not meant to represent angels as it's known on earth. They represent the ability of the Atma that runs bodies to fly free in the universe. You go up and look at, hover up above and go up to the head of this woman, beautiful woman, about 36, long satin kind of golden dress, bare arms. And you look into this emerald. You can see galaxies, thousands of them spinning out in space. It's a doorway. It goes from this parallel dimension through this device out into a cluster of many thousands of galaxies. And this is for people to go through it to get a perspective of what it's like to hover in space above many thousands of galaxies, billions of stars in each one, so that they can comprehend how vast creation is. The next instant, you see a flash of light and Torellian hovering above these galaxies, and all of us hovering around him. Now we're not even in the Milky Way galaxy. We're not even anywhere near our galaxy. And when you look down on these different galaxies, some that are moving through each other, colorful nebula, brilliant stars, bright blue-white hot stars, and you get a feeling of multidimensionality, because when you look up from here, you see planes or levels of galaxies going upward in finer matter. Upward, 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 levels upon levels. And you hear a sound. It sounds like you running through it. And many levels above it, very high pitched. And you can see this same subtle white light with a gold tinge of energy flowing through space between all these galaxies, upward through the ones and levels above. And then you find yourself hovering outside the angel statue again. Now we're looking up above the statue, and you find that you are a sphere along with everyone else floating above a body form that's looking up, smiling at you. About 36, perfectly healthy. You're familiar, it looks like your body on Earth. And this is you. This is an energetic projection of a physical form. So you have complete tactile sensation and senses in this reality. You've mocked up a body out of energy of the hue in the molecular time rate of this place. And it's looking up, smiling, knowing that the spherical form you are is you. And you're going to see it dissolve and come up inside your being and go into the white core of your being. It's an energy projection. And you can see the dome city off in the distance, some miles away. And we're going to fly over the top of the jungle, above the blue forest surrounding it. And you can go up to the top of that mountain, and you see a waterfall pouring out of an oval tunnel, a cave, dropping thousands of feet down to the base of the forest that encircles this large domed city. When you look at the quartz caps on these pyramids, they're radiating multicolors out through the dome, out into space. They're doing something. You can see people way down on the ground walking around. You can see 3 Scout-class spacecraft parked on circular dark blue landing pads. They're 30 feet across, disc-shaped, transparent blue, cobalt blue glass dome-like on the top. There are spiritual adepts that work here. People from other worlds come here. It's a safe place to hang their hat on this parallel Earth before they come into a much more dangerous area where we live on the planet. You can see this tunnel of a kind of a clear-cut tunnel, semi-spherical, like a half sphere with curved sides, and semi-spherical white ivory domed lights going down the ceiling. It's hundreds of feet across. It goes straight back into the mountain. And we're going to dart into it, all of us, and fly down this tunnel until it comes out of an opening. And you find yourself with Terrellian and myself hovering above a blue lapis lazuli type polished floor, glowing in a huge cavern inside a mountain. And you can see a long rectangular octagon building 5 stories high, with octagon-sided windows and many beings from other worlds working at different control desks on each level. And you can see a suspended bridge coming out of the middle section of this building, entering an oval opening in the side of a long cylindrical spacecraft. It's hovering with a blue field around it above the ground on its own. Slight hum. And you can see the commanders of this base, a man and a woman, originally from the Pleiadian area, walking towards us. They are telepathic. They are human. Bigger eyes than humans on Earth, slightly bigger, very beautiful. long flowing hair, blonde, brown, and they can tell you that you're welcome here, and they ask you, do you know where you are? Torellian will say to you, look around and see if you can find out where this is. I will give you a hint. This is inside a mountain in Northern California. That tunnel from this particular Galactic Alliance base of operations comes out in a parallel dimension on this Earth, above a waterfall in another mountain. And we've just gotten around quite a bit of a journey on our own local turf on Earth through connected interdimensional doorways that go between one rate of vibration of molecules and energy to a slightly higher one and back. This is inside Mount Shasta in Northern California. It is not a connection to the hollow Earth or something like this. That's not what this base is for. This is a base that was established in 1908, basically to protect this planet from tyrant incursions that they knew were going to take place, even though a treaty was signed at the end of a war 500,000 years ago. So we've never been alone in the universe. Ask this man and woman. If you get the books one day, The Emerald Doorway and the Saber's Agenda, this place is described in detail and who and how it works. The books were written as telepathic doorways to help people remember. They are kinetic energy doorways. Pick them up as a book, but what's the way they're written and the way they work is to help you recall much you've been made to forget. Ask this couple, if you want to know their names, find it out in the books. But it's not important now. They can help you understand a lot more about what is taking place out in the galaxy now and with this planet as far as its real changing destiny is concerned. If you look to the left, over near the huge cavern carved out of the inside of the mountain, it's an extinct volcano. You can see a circular, divided in half, launch doors up on the top of the cavern, which are covered in snow and the volcanic caldera on top of the mountain, and they can be opened. These ships can also manifest what's called traveling out of phase. They just change the molecular time rate enough so that they cannot be detected on radar and they cannot be seen by human eyes. This is just technology. And there are several dozen of them parked in 2 parallel rows. Same ones you saw parked next to the Dome City on the other reality. You're going to find yourself, as Torellian looks up, you're going to be in space again, with all of us around him right where we started, looking down on Earth as you know it, with the barren moon. You look down on the North American continent, you see Mount Shasta in the north part of the state. You just came from there. And you look down and see yourself hovering above your physical body at 5,000 feet as a spherical energy, an atma. Quite pleased, you bring back the awareness of this journey and you send it down to the white sphere and its structure hovering above your physical body. And you send a kind energy down into the pineal gland of that brain, a white light as a carrier to bring the awareness of this journey back to that form. So there's a link between it and you, the real knower, that you can review as you wake your body up. When you're ready, open your eyes.
It got dark by you.
Yeah, a little bit. It's really light out, but I had to close the shutters. So I'll open them. Try to get a little more light on the subject here with an actual light bulb. Okay. These journeys will take a different course every time because there's many ways to get to Rome, so to speak. And better that people get more flexible in moving between one vibration and another and one consciousness or another, because it will help them perceive and understand things while they're on Earth in a much more multidimensional manner. Because they weren't raised from childhood thinking like this or even understanding it. So it's like exercising higher faculties to get the imagination functioning. Imagination is not made up in the brain. So with that, I will say happy trails to you until we meet again, kind of thing.
Okay. Are you signing off, Scott?
Oh, just to close out this session for your people, for the radio show, and then you and I can chat. So I want to wish everybody very pleasant dreams. If you can, don't let yourselves dwell on an Armageddon. Forget about it. Ain't going to happen. You might as well spend your time doing something more constructive for your own benefit. Explore the multidimensional universe. Wake yourself up. You can do it through the Hue. You can go to my website at paralleltime.com, PARALLELTIME.com. There's nothing for sale there. You can find links to trustworthy online retailers to get the books, but I don't sell anything at the sites. And the videos and short promotional videos and conferences I've been at and radio shows are all there for you guys for free. There's recordings of my voice sending out to you in 3-part harmony you can listen to and help yourself. So go ahead and have some fun. I have 3 other websites you might want to explore that are tied to the main website: TotalSpectrumPublishing.com, TotalSpectrumProductions.com, and TotalSpectrumMedia.com. There's a lot of material on science and other things written in articles that go through the article of theory and then goes into direct knowing perception to take theory into actual experience. You can explore those at your leisure as well. So I wish you all a great good day, and I guess Gail, thank you for hosting Free Range.
You're very welcome.
And next time, if you want, we'll discuss. We can have a bit of a more structure about things we want to talk about. In areas people want to know truth about, real certainty. And then we can explore those and then go on a different journey. And instead of going to a parallel dimension on Earth and going that way, we'll go out into other worlds.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, audience. I hope you enjoyed the journey, and I hope you'll join us again next week. Thank you.
Bye for now.